Hello, I am Elizabeth Dr. E. Carter. Welcome to my presentation, Elevate Your Value, How to Establish Presence in a Hybrid Environment. Let's first talk about what we'll be discussing in this conversation. We know we have gone through this period called COVID, and we are steadily working our way out of that. But I want to take us back to pre-COVID. We'll then discuss what presence means today. And presence could mean several things. We think about executive presence, but presence is more than that for executives. It's for everyone. And last, I will help illustrate a framework that will allow you to elevate your value in a hybrid environment, whether you're in 5 days a week, 3 days a week, or no days a week. So first, let's talk about working prior to COVID. Now, for me, there were so many challenges I had prior to COVID. Let me share some of them with you, and they may resonate with you also. First of all, I felt muted. And the reason why was because, first of all, there were so many people who were in my head. You have that. Telling you what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what you're good at, not really good at. You allow those individuals to start to make you shut down, make you not want to speak or share. You may even have in the workplace maybe a leader or someone you work with that has said something to you that has totally made you mute. The other piece of that is imposter syndrome. How many of you, and I'm raising my hand, this is all me, but I know I talk to so many individuals about the same thing. Imposter syndrome states that we feel as if what we have accomplished came by pure luck or timing. But realistically, we have earned every single item that we have been fortunate to be blessed to have. The other piece of this is what I call being motionless. That means we are pretty much standing in a place where we can't move. And there are a couple of different reasons why that happens. First of all, fear of failure. We can't go through life without failing. If we don't fail, that means we haven't tried, we haven't grown, we haven't stepped out of our comfort zone. Because we feel as if every time we do that and fail, we feel like we've been pushed back, falling behind. And we have to be able to get better at that. But sometimes we're so shook, we're frozen. The other piece of that is complacency. We get comfortable. I tell you, we love our daily routine because it's regulated. The timing is what we need for it to be. And we then start to feel comfortable, even though we're not really where we want to be. But we have sacrificed that comfort for growth, freedom, and independence. The other piece is what makes us mad. We have all met the requirements. And what do I mean by met the requirements? We have spent the money earning the degrees, the designations, the extra professional development. We have taken the energy to be truly involved and engaged in the workplace, raising our hand for extra credit, going out in the community, doing great work, going above and beyond. And that has eaten into our time. That time that we make decisions about spending time with our family or spending time working because we believe that that is how we'll be able to get ahead. But let me tell you, all those items I just described to you, I was doing the same things. Let me tell you about the day my life changed, though. I had been working hard, doing all those great things. I thought I was doing a bang up job. my organization was saying to me, hey, Elizabeth, you're doing a great job every single year. And in 2016, my boss told me that my job was being eliminated. And at that point, I felt mad. I had fallen to a sense of being complacent, and the imposter syndrome kicked in. It said to me, oh my goodness, had I not worked hard to get where I am? Was I not deserving of staying in the role? Was I not worthy of being offered something different? And I realized at that point a couple of things. I realized that the only things that were being elevated was my heart rate, my cholesterol level, and those numbers on the scale. It was not good. And as I thought about what I wanted my journey to be going forward, I started the new job. But then guess what happened? COVID came in 2019. We also had the George Floyd murder. And that changed the way in which we all were operating in our working environment. It was no longer about imposter syndrome, complacency, meeting the requirements. Now it was about how are we going to shift what we're doing and how we're doing it, and understanding what the companies are doing in order to help many of us thrive in the workplace. But we knew when we went home that day in 2020 that it would never be the same. So let me ask you all a question. 2021, 2022, 2023, we are now in 2024. My question to you is, are you truly ready for a hybrid environment? Thinking about all that you did prior to COVID, trying to elevate your value, working hard, trying to exceed, raising your hand, kissing babies, being the company spokesperson. What now might we need to be doing differently? And here's some statistics. This is from 2021, well before we started coming back into the workplace. We already knew that this hybrid environment was going to be a challenge. Many of us had already adjusted our lives to being home, whether it was adjusting where we live, how our family routine worked. And we were realizing, and now we have realized, that many of us are back in the office. Some of us 5 days a week now, some of us less than that. Some of us may still be fortunate to have been working at home prior to COVID and are still being able to work at home. But here are the challenges. Communication, trusting that the employees get the work done. Looking at workloads. How do we recognize individuals in their accomplishments? And how are we supporting those who are in the office and those who are not with professional development? These are all items that the leadership and managers are constantly thinking about in this hybrid environment. But I want to talk to all of us as individuals because we all similarly have a responsibility in this new environment. And that's where the presence comes in. Whether you are home every day, in 3 days a week, or in 5 days a week, you have to understand the essence of what presence is, because that will be how you will elevate in this workplace. So let's first talk about what presence is briefly. And I have a report from Forbes that was done well back in 2018, but these elements of presence still hold true. Now I'm going to run through these very quickly, but if you want my notes and the details, I want you to text the word presence to this phone number on the screen, 434-322-7431. The word presence to 434-322-7431. 7431 to get the detailed notes of this presentation. So let's talk about presence. These are the elements. 1, articulate your vision. Everyone must know what you're striving for and what you're trying to do. They say closed mouths don't get fed, and that is so true in the working environment. Second, know your brand. And if you don't know what brand is, you need to reach out to me. I have several presentations about what your brand is, and that really is holistically what other people are saying about you when you're not in the room. And if that's not in alignment, you absolutely have to work on that. Next, you must be a great communicator and an even better listener. You are communicating and listening for clues, areas of opportunity, areas where there is no one working on a particular project that is truly a critical need in your organization. Also, how do you cultivate your network? And this becomes even more critical in a hybrid environment because we feel as if we're not seen, we're not heard, we're not known, we are not remembered. That is one of the critical areas in a hybrid environment. Next, how well do you handle stress? And who didn't experience stress during COVID? I know I did. It was the stress of managing the home environment while I was trying to get work done in my office. I think we all became very resilient during this time, but we still need to be able to understand what stress really is and how to handle it. As you move up the corporate ladder, that is another area of importance because there's so much going on, so many people and activities pulling at you. You have to be able to manage it all and manage yourself. And last is look the part. They say you should dress for your next role. And sometimes it gets a little bit challenging. We talk about, oh, we don't have any money, but there's still ways to look professional and look as if you are the leader. You are in charge. We are all our own CEOs of our life. We need to look the part. But again, for more details on all of these, please text that word presence to 434-322-7431. So let's talk about this framework. And those of you who have heard me speak before, I have this framework called the YUPS. And I call it the YUPS because many of these you've probably heard before, seen before, or saw someone else doing, and you haven't taken advantage of it. Marketing says that we should hear something 7 times before it actually starts to sink in and resonate. And I'm here to tell you all for the first time, the 3rd time, or the 7th time. Here are some great tools to help you elevate your value. And they are set up, show up, and step up. And let me share with you how these particular areas align with being in a hybrid environment. First, set up. The 2 main areas here are shift and communicate. Setup itself is about changing and shifting our mindset. We have to realize that, yes, we have to go back in the office if that is what is required of us. There must be a conversation, though, about scheduling the days of the week to, again, make sure that it's still feasible with your home environment, with whatever else is happening in your household, with your significant other, with your kids, with childcare, with maybe even caregiving, if that is what you're doing today. And the communication is that you must talk to your leadership team about that. They are all going through the same thing. If you can describe to them your situation, your issue, they are very much understanding and can accommodate. But you need to also be flexible in what they need and what the organization and business needs. Next, show up. First is the planning. goes along with the communicating and shifting. Looking the part, and I'm going to come back to that in a minute, and then proximity. You have to be very strategic, especially if you are not going to be in the office every single day. And some of us may not even work in the same state where our corporate office is. Then we have to be very strategic in making sure we plan to come to the office. We plan to network when we're in the office. We ask for the money in the budget to be able to come into the office because proximity, again, gets back to a lot of times, if you're not seen, you're not remembered. So, how do we enable ourselves to be seen? We have to make sure that we strategically put ourselves in front of people. Now, let's get to the second one about part, looking the part. And it's so interesting, this shift we have had over the last, say, 15 years about the work environment and attire. Way back when, and I've been in the business and I've been in corporate finance in insurance companies for over 25 years. Back in the day, it was business attire, suits all the time. I even remember, and I'm showing my age, when women couldn't even wear pants. It had to be a suit with a skirt or a dress. Then we moved into this area of business casual, where we loosened up a bit from wearing the suits. You still had to have nice coordinated tops and bottoms, still look very professional. But we lapsed into this, what do we call, casual sloppy. We said because we were on camera or at home that we didn't have a need to get dressed. We'd be in our pajamas, baseball hat. I saw many gentlemen stop shaving. Sometimes he would come to the Zoom with a hat or a scarf on. You could tell they really rolled out of bed. We have to get back to business. We work in businesses. We need to dress as if we're in business. And when we dress nicely, we feel different. We feel good. We feel energized. That is one of the main areas we need to get back to. And lastly, step up. This really is getting out of your comfort zone. One is by participating. Whether you are on some type of virtual meeting, whether it's Zoom or Teams or some other platform your company uses, be on camera. Let them see you. This way, they know you're actually engaged in the conversation, you're in the meeting, you're not multitasking or doing some other work and just listening. And also, that gets to activate. Raise your hand, have something to say, share your insight. That will be how the other audience members get to know you. When you are not physically in the room, they can't see your facial expressions. They can't see your body language. So your voice will be how you communicate and interact. For more context on those, again, please text the word presence to 434-322-7431. You will get this presentation, my notes, and I put it into a little bit of an ebook so that you have tips and tools to go along with the elements of presence, and my tips for how to navigate in a hybrid environment. And to reiterate those again, under setup, it's about shifting your mindset and communicating your needs. Under show up, planning your strategy around how you will operate in the office, playing the part, looking the part. And if you are aware of your proximity, knowing how to network. And the last is step up by making sure you're participating any way that you can. If you can get to the office and be in a meeting physically, that's great. If you cannot, ensure that you are activating yourself in the meeting by being visible and being vocal. Let me give you one little tip that I have found beneficial already. and the word is lunch. What I do at lunchtime, I may bring my lunch, but I will still go down to our cafeteria just to see who's around, to say hello, see what's going on, find out what's new. Already on two occasions, I have been able to make very strong connections that are leading me into some new projects and expanding my network. So remember lunch. That's an important part of what happens in the workplace. And you can even do a virtual lunch by getting on people's calendars. So let's look again at how presence aligns with the items I just shared with you pertaining to how to elevate in a hybrid workplace. When we think about the stress part, once we have shifted our mindset, we will be able to handle the new stress of whether we're going back into the office different days a week and how we have flexed our schedule. When we participate, we are creating our brand. Communicating is universal on both sides. When you engage and activate your voice, you are now gaining a network. Looking the part is critical physically and verbally, and from a vision perspective. When you have planned your strategy and understand your proximity to where and how things are happening, you will be all set. You now have the tools that this hybrid environment is not so scary. It's not so challenging. You just need a plan. So to go back to our objectives, we discussed life prior to COVID, where I know I felt mute, motionless, and man. And I would love to hear how some of you have been able to move through that, how you've gotten through COVID, how your company is even working with certain leaders pertaining to how do we create more diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace. That then leads into our presence and the elements of presence and the framework I share with you, my yups, the set up, show up, and step up. And that is how to establish presence in a hybrid environment. I'm Elizabeth Dr. E. Carter. Please reach out to me. It's my website, www.eac-appeal. That's two A's, two P's, EAL.com. And please text the word presence to 434-322-7431. You will get the notes from this presentation, more tips on how to understand what presence means, and tips on how to utilize this hybrid environment to your advantage. I'm looking forward to seeing you elevate in your workplace. And I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.